Shayna Baszler. We haven't seen Shayna Baszler on TV in what, like 2 months? About 2 months. Wasn't Money in the Bank? I think Money in the Bank was about the last time we saw her on WWE TV. So naturally, with her absence on Monday Night Raw, a lot of people have been speculating what's going on with Shayna Baszler. Why hasn't she been on Raw? What is going on? You got to remember, Shayna Baszler was the person that challenged for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. This isn't, average Joe who was on Monday Night Raw, and for her just to disappear, what's going on now? It's been reported by the likes of Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and others. There's nothing wrong with Shayna Baszler. She doesn't have any injuries. She doesn't have any suspensions. She hasn't tested positive for COVID. Nothing of that sort at all. The reason Shayna Baszler is not on WWE TV right now is because WWE Creative doesn't have anything for her. Yes, those dreaded lines, WWE Creative doesn't have anything for you right now. The person who is the longest reigning NXT Women's Champion in history, the person who was scheduled at one point this year to win the female Royal Rumble match until at the very last minute they changed their minds and went with Charlotte, the person who eliminated every single competitor in the Elimination Chamber match in February and challenged Becky Lynch at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship. Creative has nothing for her right now. This is after they've lost Becky Lynch. This is after Charlotte Flair has taken some time away from WWE. They still have nothing for Shayna Baszler. AKA Vince McMahon doesn't like her or doesn't get her. That's the real story here. Vince McMahon, yet again, on a talent that's come up from NXT, has given up on a talent, doesn't get them, doesn't like them. We don't see them again. That's what it is. That's what we're dealing with right now when it comes to Shayna Baszler. Look, the rumours were always there when it came to Shayna Baszler and Vince McMahon's perception of her. It was other people that were pushing for her to come to Raw, to come to SmackDown, whatever, and not Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon wasn't a fan. Vince McMahon hasn't been a fan of Shayna Baszler for a while. And I don't get it. Well, I do get it because she's not blonde. That's. I mean, I don't want to be crass, but that's essentially what is going on here. Now, Shayna Baszler, it's been teased for ages. The build for her to come to the main roster had been teased for ages. She won at Survivor Series, one of the biggest matches. It was main evented of the show. The match itself was not great. I think maybe that soured Vince McMahon then and there, but WWE decided to persist with it. She won that match. She beat Bayley and she beat Becky Lynch in the main event of Survivor Series. Big deal. She didn't stand tall at the end of that show because Becky Lynch leg dropped her through a table, I believe, or something of that effect. She didn't stand tall, but okay, Shayna Baszler, she was put on the map and she absolutely crushed everyone in the build-up to that match. So Shayna Baszler, we knew Shayna Baszler. That's, if you didn't know her, you knew her now, right? And then the plan was, everyone knew the plan because it had been reported for a while, and I think everyone assumed that was the plan. Shayna Baszler, she was going to face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship. Everyone knew that was the deal, and most people assumed Shayna Baszler would win the Women's Royal Rumble to get there. She just lost the NXT Women's Championship to Rhea Ripley. So again, everyone thought, okay, right, this is Shayna's time. She's going to the main roster. She's going to feud with Becky Lynch. She appears in the female Royal Rumble, dominates, throws out a lot of people, but Charlotte Flair last eliminates her and Shayna Baszler doesn't win the Royal Rumble match. We then hear the plan was for Shayna Baszler to win it, and then at the last minute, ideas were changed, creative was changed, and Charlotte Flair was put in the position to win the female Royal Rumble. I wonder who made that decision. It's obvious. I'm not even going to speak in hypotheticals or rhetorical questions here. Vince McMahon made that decision. Vince McMahon made the decision for Shayna Baszler not to win the female Royal Rumble, but we were told then, have no fear, have no fear. The plan is still to have Becky Lynch to face Shayna Baszler at WrestleMania. And a lot of people thought, okay, by the time WrestleMania comes around, Becky Lynch would have been champion for a whole year, 1 year. Therefore, if she's been that champion for a whole year and they want to build up Shayna Baszler as this legitimate MMA fighting badass, she'll defeat Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. It's the story that makes the most sense. You know, I'm a big advocate for face champions winning over and over again, but there comes a limit, right? You have to lose it. Part of you becoming over as a babyface is the chase, right? Some competitors are better in the chase than they are as champions, right? So a lot of people thought this was going to be the case. You have the feud with Becky Lynch leading into WrestleMania. It was weird. Shayna Baszler bit the back of Becky Lynch's neck. I don't know why. Maybe that's why she wears a mouth guard all the time. It's because she's, Hannibal Lecter, apparently. She turned from a cage fighter to a cage biter, right? In the build up to WrestleMania. Bizarre. But we have the match coming into WrestleMania thinking, right, here we go. This is going to be the big moment for Shayna Baszler on the main roster. Of course, built up in NXT for years, had great matches in NXT. I don't care what people say. They say, oh, and this was the thing. And I should backtrack here slightly. So coming into WrestleMania, she had the Elimination Chamber match. The winner would face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. And she defeated every single person in that Elimination Chamber match. That Elimination Chamber match was designed to get Shayna Baszler over. And there were some people criticizing that, saying it was boring or they knew the outcome. And I rolled my eyes at that when people were saying that, because it was about getting Shayna Baszler over. That was the whole point of the match. It was meant for her to be dominant. And these are the same people that were vocally saying, why didn't Shayna Baszler win the Royal Rumble? Why did Charlotte Flair win it? Well, you can't have both. You can't have both. I was fine with it because it served the purpose of telling the story of getting Shayna Baszler over to the point where she could be seen as a credible threat to Becky Lynch. And coming into WrestleMania, you thought she beat everyone in that Elimination Chamber match. Becky Lynch has been champion for a year. It makes sense. The story made sense for Shayna Baszler to beat Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. Turns out at WrestleMania as well, Becky Lynch was pregnant at that time. Now, I'm not sure Becky Lynch knew, I'm not sure WWE knew, because they wouldn't clear her to compete at the time, but Becky Lynch was pregnant at that period of time. And Becky Lynch has actually come out recently and said she pitched for Shayna Baszler to beat her at WrestleMania. She wanted Shayna Baszler to beat her because, again, you can't be champion forever. Part of the journey is the chase for the title when you're a babyface. And Becky Lynch knows that. She's smart to the business, okay? But Becky Lynch wins anyway. That her request is denied by I wonder who. That would be Vince McMahon again. Her request is denied, and then she's gone now because she was pregnant. So not only did you have Shayna Baszler lose her biggest match, where she needs to, if you're going to establish someone as a big star, you can't have their first big match they lose, because you just lose the credibility in the casual fans' eyes. You are no longer credible to anyone because you go, well, last time you were in a big match, you lost. So why would I ever think you're going to win a big match again? And that's what happened. That's what happened. And it's not only just in the eyes of the casual fan, it's in the eyes of the people that are writing the show. Because once you lose that big match, Vince McMahon doesn't care anymore. The creative team, they don't care anymore. And if the creative team knows that Vince McMahon doesn't like someone or is shooting down ideas to push someone, look, the people on the creative team, it's well known, they are yes men. They are not going to pitch ideas that Vince McMahon doesn't like. If Vince McMahon doesn't like Shayna Baszler, they're not going to pitch ideas. AKA creative has nothing for her. And that's the situation we're in now. Creative has nothing for her because Vince McMahon doesn't like her. Those two go together. That is the reason Shayna Baszler hasn't been on TV for the last 2 months. And it comes to my point again, right? And a lot of people have said it's because of Paul Heyman's departure as well, and that's probably true. Paul Heyman was a big advocate of Shayna Baszler being on Raw, being on the main roster, becoming Raw Women's Champion, and now he's gone. Shayna Baszler's push, it's gone at the same time. So those two things go together also as well. And it comes down to this thing again. Vince McMahon doesn't get this MMA style. Vince McMahon is a pro wrestling traditionalist. This new hybrid style that Shayna Baszler offers, where, look, she doesn't hit the ropes that often. She grapples, she works people down, she uses MMA moves, she does striking. Vince McMahon doesn't like that because he's an old school pro wrestling promoter. He's a sports entertainment guy. So he doesn't like when matches are slower. He doesn't like matches when it doesn't have all the high spots. That's Vince McMahon. That is Vince McMahon. And he doesn't get it. And it's what makes me laugh when it comes to this, sometimes when it comes to the women's revolution in WWE. Because without a doubt, there has been a women's revolution. No doubt about it. Women are main event in shows. Sasha Banks and Io Shirai was the main event of the NXT Great American Bash this past week. They outdrew AEW Fyter Fest. There is a women's revolution. Women have main evented WrestleMania. It's without a doubt. But there is still this element that if you're not this, and I want to be careful with my words here, but if you're not this model-looking type of female, right? If you're not this great-looking, blonde hair kind of look, you don't get pushed by Vince McMahon. You just don't. And I know people are going to come back at me and say, that's not true. It is, though, because a Shayna Baszler doesn't fit Vince McMahon's role or model of what a WWE female superstar should be today. It's fine saying that we're going to abolish calling them divas anymore and we're going to call them superstars and they're treated as equal. They're in the main events. They have their own pay-per-view. That's great. But let's be honest, if you don't fit the Vince McMahon mold of what a female WWE superstar should look like, even in 2020, you ain't going to get the push. And that's what it comes down to Shayna Baszler. He doesn't like the way she looks, he doesn't like the way she works, and he doesn't like her personality. That's it. And it comes back to the point of, yet again, this is the same thing. History is repeating itself over and over and over again. An NXT superstar with great success in NXT comes up to the main roster and Vince McMahon poo-poos all over it and doesn't like it, and then they do nothing. All that work, they spent years and years building up Shayna Baszler, building up the brand of Shayna Baszler, making her seem important and credible in the eyes of professional wrestling fans, WWE fans, NXT fans, and in a couple of months, gone. She is no longer relevant. She is no longer credible. She has been damaged as a brand and violated as a brand, and that's because Vince McMahon suddenly has decided, I don't like her. And it's happened again and again and again. You know, Ricochet. What is he doing at the moment? EC3, what is he doing at the moment? Aleister Black was an NXT champion. I mean, he's having good matches on Raw, but he's hardly setting the world alight. I mean, it's happened over and over again. The start Shinsuke Nakamura. It was an NXT champion. He was so over in NXT. And then when he made his debut after WrestleMania 33, you heard that crowd. You heard the reaction. He was so over. What is he doing now? He's in a tag team with Cesaro. This guy was a star, is a star. But Vince McMahon, he decides, nah, you were wrong. People in NXT, it doesn't translate to the WWE roster, okay? It doesn't translate to Raw and SmackDown, okay? I've got my idea of what a star is, and then suddenly, creative has nothing for them. And that's exactly the same problem that Shayna Baszler is in right now. Bianca Belair, she called up at the very same event, WrestleMania 36 earlier this year. What is she doing? She goes here now. Apparently not. She doesn't go here that often because she's never on Raw television anymore. Creative has nothing for her. She was a standout player in the Royal Rumble earlier this year. Got the most eliminations or something like that. She was on fire. She is a tremendous, tremendous athlete. She was in the NXT Women's Championship match at NXT TakeOver Portland in February. Again, there is nothing for her right now. Vince McMahon, again, and WWE Creative, Bruce Pritchard has to get thrown into this one. If you've got nothing for them, send them back to NXT where they can be of use and build themselves back up. Don't just have them rotting on Raw and SmackDown, because that's what it is. Their career right now is rotting. They are stagnant. They are not doing anything. Send Bianca Belair back to NXT. Send Ricochet back to NXT. Send Shayna Baszler back to NXT. People will say, oh, it's a demotion, but it's not. It gives them something to do. I'm sure they're happy with the main roster contracts that they've got, but I'm sure they also want to work. And that's the situation here, because you can make the money for a couple of years, but what happens when suddenly you're not worth as much anymore because you haven't been on TV, or what you've been doing isn't worthwhile? I know I'd want to be paid less, but be worth more in the future, because that's where your money is. It's in your longevity. You can get paid well for a couple of years on a main roster contract, but when suddenly you get released and it's like, well, you haven't done anything recently, you can get a decent contract with AEW, Impact, or NWA, or whatever, or New Japan, but what are you worth now? You know, that's the situation. What are you worth now, and what are you going to be worth in about a year's time? Because Ricochet is certainly not as valuable as he was a year ago. There's no way. Okay? Bianca Belair's valuation is going right down because she's barely appearing on TV, and it's the same with Shayna Baszler. And it's this recurring problem of this disconnect between Raw and SmackDown and NXT. You can call NXT a third brand, but when you've got the guy in charge, Vince McMahon, deciding that the stars in NXT aren't good enough for Raw and SmackDown 5 minutes after they've appeared there, what can you do? Some developmental system, right? It's great once you, in how you're recruiting people, and it's great once you get them into the Performance Center, and it's great when they're on NXT. Once they get to Raw and SmackDown, they just sink so quickly because Vince McMahon decides that they're not stars. And that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. That's what it is with Shayna Baszler right now. It's a sad state of affairs, but that's what it is, and that's what WWE really needs to fix. And it's an ongoing problem, and it's a recurring problem that every time I hear it, I roll my eyes. Because Shayna Baszler is just the latest victim. Just the latest victim. But of course, I'll stop my rant now. I'm starting to lose my voice. I'll stop my rant now, but of course, it's just one man's opinion. What is your opinion on WWE not having anything creatively for Shayna Baszler right now? Where should she go next? What should she do next? Should she go back to NXT? Should she stay on Raw? Should she go to SmackDown? What would you do with Shayna Baszler right now? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms on the screen right now. That's at 365Wrestle on Twitter and at Wrestle News 365 on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this day. Hope you've enjoyed your 4th of July day. For all of my American viewers out there, have a great 4th of July weekend. Stay safe and have a good time. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.